Hi, in this video we're gonna see the Wi-Fi frame format. So here you have the full frame format. As we already know the Ethernet format, you can see that there are some differences. In Wi-Fi, the standard that is followed is the 802.11. So the first field is the frame control. It is 2 bytes and we have diverse information with different meaning for the routing. We will explain this in detail at the end of the video because it has several fields to take into account. The second field is the duration. So as you know, when we are transmitting in Wi-Fi, we are using CSMA-CA and we need some time for the inhibition of the other transmitters to avoid collisions. So this field is used for that. It's kind of a timer to set up how much time the other transmitter should be inhibited. Afterward, we have 4 addresses. This might sound strange, but we have a specific video independent from this one in which we explain why we have 4 addresses and how do we use them to send the traffic. Because in the end, we have one destination and one source. So why do we have 4? Please check the other video. The other field that we have is the sequence control. In this case, it is 2 bytes, 16 bits, 4 bytes to number the fragments. For example, if it's the first one if we just have one fragment is equal to 0, and then we have 12 bits to number and identify frames because we can have several frames with several fragments each. Then we have the data. And this is just a curiosity, but the amount of data can be up to 2,312 bytes, which is actually bigger than the Ethernet frame. And we have 8 bytes kind of reserved for quality of service and so on. So in the end, it's just 2,304, but just bear in mind that it is bigger than the Ethernet. Finally, we have the CRC, which is for error control, as you already know, and it has a generator value that you can see below. So now let us see the frame control field because it has several fields with a lot of information, which we would like to see in detail. So the frame control is 2 bytes. From these 2 bytes, we have 16 bits that you can see below. The first 2 bits are used for the protocol version, indicates and manages the protocol version used, but currently is always set to 0 because it is not used in the end. The second and third field are the type and subtype. So the frame type indicates whether it's a management frame, control frame, or data frame. In the case if it's a control frame, you can see some examples on the right side. For example, if it's an RTS or CTS or an ACK, you would have as subtype the values that you can see in the table. Then we have 2 fields which indicates whether the frame goes to the access point or comes from an access point. Sometimes you can also see them as 2DS from DS, okay? So these indicate the direction of a frame and they are mandatory to correctly interpret the addresses. If you remember, we have 4 addresses, so please check the video about the addresses to understand the meaning of these 2 fields. In particular, if the communication goes from a mobile device to an access point, these two AP will be set to 1 and from AP to 0. If it goes from an AP to a mobile device, it will be the other way around, to AP to 0 and from AP to 1. And finally, if it goes from and to an AP, we will have both fields set to 1. Another field is the more fragment fields. This is similar to, for example, the one of IP. If it's set to 1, there are more fragments to send. As you know, we can send several fragments to avoid collisions if we reduce the amount of data to be sent at once. Another field is the retry, retransmission field, which indicates if the frame is being retransmitted because it had a collision before. Another field is this 1 byte for power management, and it is set to 1 or 0 to hibernate or activate a node, because you can do this in Wi-Fi remotely. Finally, we also have 1 bit for if we have more data to be sent. In this case, it's more frames to send, okay? MF is for more fragments, and this one would be for more frames. And remember that frames can be divided into several fragments. We also have one field for the web protocol, because when Wi-Fi was being developed, they realized that data encryption was really important. So this was one of the very first encryption models. But right now it's not so secure because it's easily broken. So it's not used anymore. Finally, the last field is the order. If it's set to 1, it means that data ordering is very, very important for the transmission and should be taken into account. And that's it. So thank you.